Life is uncertain. It's okay to feel stressed, anxious, worried, or frustrated. CalHope can help. Access CalHope's free and secure mental health resources. Call 833-317-4673 or live chat at calhope.org.
Ahoy! And welcome to the Boating Hour with Captain Rick. The Boating Hour brings you the latest and greatest essential information about everything that sails, floats, or motors upon the high seas of Southern California. From landlubbers to old salts, there'll be something for everyone. So climb aboard and get ready to sail with Captain Rick.
Ahoy out there and welcome to the Boating Hour. I'm Captain Rick, and I want to thank you for joining us here on AM 870. We're here every Saturday at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and please be sure to visit us on the web at theboatinghour.com, and now on Instagram and Facebook, The Boating Hour with Captain Rick. Thanks to our sponsor for our show today. For a healthy gut, the best probiotic on the market, Livia One Probiotics, natural, organic, and allergen-free. And I hope you had a chance to get down to Long Beach, the Bard Hall Outdoor Boat and Recreation Show. It's been amazing, and the show is going on as we speak. And if you haven't gotten down there, I got some exciting news for you. But Bart, thanks for coming back. The show is underway. You're busy. All kinds of people having a good time. Thanks for doing a little segment with me today again right now.
Oh, Rick, great to have you back, man. I'm really excited to be on with you again.
That's great. And the show is underway, and if you haven't gone down there, you got a whole nother day. Tomorrow's Sunday, but today, as the show airs, you still got time to get down there. So, Bart, I understand from 5 to 8, if people can get down there before you close and listen after listening to this show, so they can get there 5 to 8 and get a discount to come in?
Offer 50%, half off on tickets from 5 to 8. Because there's no way you can see this show in 3 hours. So we figured if you can only get there at that time, then we're only going to charge you half price. So that's something new we just started, but it's something I've been thinking about for a long time because this show is pretty big, and if you really want to see everything, you can't do it in 3 hours. So,
well, that's exciting. And if you come down to the Coast Guard Auxiliary booth, you'll see Captain Rick. I'll be there to the rest of the evening today. So come down, and all kinds of great shows and seminars, and understand the Department of Boating and Waterways, where you can learn how to get your license. So they have a booth there as well. What else? What are the other booths that are exciting to go to where people can learn some great stuff about boating?
Well, we have Johnson Hicks Marine puts on the largest display of marine electronics at any show in California at this particular show. And so if you're interested in marine electronics, Johnson Hicks is going to have it for you. They're going to have it for you at a great price, and they're going to have a great selection. That's one of the things. We have some other marine stores there as well. Johnson Hicks is the one that kind of does all the electronics. We have decking, great decking for your companies. A whole bunch of them. I don't want to start naming them. I don't want to favor anybody. You know, we've got gyro systems. Everything that you need for your boat is there. We have some great new bumpers. I have some great inflatable and portable docks. If you buy everything that I just said, then you'll have to get a truck to get it home.
Well, that is exciting and still going on. So if you haven't made it down to Long Beach, you can still got time for a discount ticket for a half price. Get out there from 5 to 8 right after the show, and then all day Sunday. So you got Sunday to get out there, and it's pretty exciting. And Bart, I want to thank you for coming on again, and I'd really like to do a whole segment one time and talk about the state of the industry, and the future of your shows and the projects and the goals that you have and how much fun you have. So I'm sure we can do a whole nother segment with that. But if you're listening to the show right now, get down to Long Beach so you still have time. Have a wonderful evening and all day tomorrow, Sunday.
Great. We'd love to see you all down there. There's so much to do. And there's a whole day of family entertainment also. It goes all the way until we close. You love to watch those Ultimate Air Dogs. People love to watch the Lumberjack Show. The kids love to race the ducks, and the Kids Fish Free Trout Pond stays open till we close. So it's really a lot of fun. There's air gun ranges and archery and all kinds of stuff. You'll spend a lot of time having fun.
Yeah, the outdoor lifestyle really develops character, especially in the young kids. At the boating show, I try real hard. Every marina and all the yacht clubs and all the activities that go on at our marinas really develop these wonderful kids. Every time you see them participating, they're so happy. And, that's the goal of the boat show. So there's a lot to do at the show for the kids, too. So I like how you've, fashioned this around having a family outings. There's not enough of that. We need a lot more.
Well, we need the future to be people who enjoy outdoor recreation, like to get outdoors, we like to get on the water, and we like to think that we're helping to get that done. When these kids come, they don't want to go home. And the most important of all the stuff we do and all the stuff we pay for, all these fun activities, one of the things the kids love most is running around on the boats. Now, the boat dealers don't like that so much, but the kids love it.
Yeah, I could imagine. Well, it's been wonderful having you back on, and I wish you all the success. And I really am glad that the lockdowns are over and people are out there able to get into the outdoor lifestyle with fishing, camping, hunting, and boating. And that's what I focus on here. So thanks again for coming back on the show, Bart. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Rick. I've enjoyed it myself.
Wonderful. And again, if you haven't gone down to the boat show yet, you still have time. Half-price tickets from 5 to 8 and all day Sunday. Get down there on Sunday. There's a lot to see, and you and the whole family and all the kids will have a great time. And let's go to our guest today, a prolific author, New York Times bestselling author and co-author of 30 books for adults and 9 for young adults, including Extreme Survival, the book I want to talk about today. So, Michael Togayas, thanks for joining Captain Rick on the Boating Hour.
Thank you, Captain Rick. It's a pleasure.
It's pretty exciting. I'm reading your bio. You're up on the website for your new book, Extreme Survival. But you got a Disney movie, in the works?
It came out. I've been very fortunate. It's called The Finest Hours, and it's about the Coast Guard's greatest rescue. That happened in 1952 off Cape Cod.
God, that's so exciting. I feature the Coast Guard. There's the Armed Service Parade, the longest running, oldest, most prestigious Armed Service Parade coming up in Torrance. Been going on for, I think this is the 62nd year. We missed a couple years during the lockdowns, but that's coming up. And the featured branch is the Coast Guard. So I'm excited about hearing about stories about search and rescue and survival. So that is a movie I definitely got to see. And let's talk about your book. Let's talk about Extreme Survival.
Yes, the subtitle kind of says it all. It's Lessons from Those Who Have Triumphed Against All Odds. So what I've done is, over the past 35 years, interviewed probably close to 100 survivors of the most extreme situations, and then from those interviews selected the toughest, the smartest, and the best survivors from the most difficult of those ordeals, and featured them in the book and the lessons learned from them.
Wow, that really is amazing. I wish you could come down here and be a guest at the Torrance Armed Service Parade, but where are you, on the East Coast?
Yes, I'm coming to you right now from Florida, but I live in Massachusetts near Cape Cod.
Aha, okay. I have not been to Cape Cod. It's one of the places I'd love to go. There's some wonderful yacht clubs, and I know that the sailing is amazing, and the weather is beautiful. I hear all kinds of friends that have been there. I've seen a lot of pictures. So, okay, let's talk about when did you start writing? I mean, you've got 30 plus books. 10 Hours Until Dawn, Fatal Forecast, Overboard, A Storm Too Soon. What was A Storm Too Soon? Which storm did you talk about on that one?
That was in 2007 when 80-foot waves were generated in the Gulf Stream off the Carolinas. You have a lot of accidents in the Gulf Stream because of that current. And this was one of those rescues that was off the charts, that it was so difficult even the rescue swimmer needed to be rescued.
Oh, my goodness.
So I Yeah, I work closely with the Coast Guard on all these books because, the first half of the books are usually about what's going on with people in these terrible situations, and then the second half is how the Coast Guard tries to rescue them.
Yeah, I've had a few coasties on the show. We haven't talked enough about rescues and some of the extreme weather, but we have talked about the Coast Guard Auxiliary as well, the eyes and ears and volunteers that supplement the Coast Guard in their active duty. There's just not enough coasties out there, but it's an amazing career. It's a wonderful branch. The Coast Guard, of all the branches, has the best food.
You know what? You're right, because I've spoken at most of the big air stations. You are correct.
They are absolutely amazing. And when you get out of the culinary from the Coast Guard as active duty, you are recruited to some of the top culinary schools, or even right out of the Coast Guard, some of the 5-star restaurants around the world. So it's kind of amazing. The first time I recognized this was a dedication to the Terrell Horn. They dedicated one of their new ships, and it's a search and rescue, and it's they're picking up smugglers and dope runners, but also human traffickers. And it's an amazing line, and they name their boats after people that are deceased. And Terrell Horn was out of Marina del Rey, out of the Coast Guard cutter, the Halibut. And he lost his life. They had intercepted what they thought were drug smugglers, but apparently it was a little bit more serious than that. And they rammed him, and he's an amazing guy. I actually knew him. And we were at the dedication at the base, the Coast Guard Long Beach, L.A. base down here. And the food, I asked him, I said, what 5-star restaurant catered this food? And all of a sudden I see coasties in their white hats. And, in the auxiliary, there's training that you can get to assist the coasties. And the Coast Guard auxiliarists get trained to assist with the food service, the food and beverage service, and they assist them quite a bit. So it's one of the very an honorary training process that you go through. Wow, the Coast Guard is amazing. Yeah. Although I tell you, the other branches, they call it grub that's barely eatable, and you watch some shows like. Like, remember MASH? They're always joking about it. Is this edible? And they're throwing the food around.
Right.
Not in the coasties. Okay, let's get back to extreme survival. So that's your latest book. Did you just finish that?
Yes, just came out and is doing very well. So I'm very happy about that. It was a labor of love because it was a book I'd been thinking about for many years as I've interviewed these survivors, and then I began to see patterns in how they got through the ordeal, common patterns. So there's 12 chapters in the book. Each chapter has 3 or 4 different survival stories, and they're grouped by mentally, how did these folks do the impossible in a situation that I would say to myself, I would have never made it. I would have cracked up, started crying, and given up. And how did these people keep fighting?
Yeah, myself as well. What was the most exhilarating survival and rescue story in the book? I don't want to give the book away. But...
No. I open with the top 2, and this is in the chapter called "The Power of Little Steps," because that is usually the best mindset for a survivor. Don't get overwhelmed by that bigger situation of how the hell am I going to make it, because usually they will get overwhelmed and realize it's such a long shot. So they break it down into 1-hour increments, maybe even half-hour increments. So in other words, you're adrift at sea, treading water. You don't think, I may have to do this for 3 days. You think, okay, what do I got to do in the next hour to keep fighting? And if you'd like, I open the chapter with one of those situations. I can read a paragraph.
Yeah, give us a paragraph.
Okay. So this, just the background, the sailboat has sunk. 5 people end up in the ocean in a storm in a life raft, and I picked it up from there. The 5 shipwrecked survivors clinging to the 11-foot inflatable Zodiac were in the trough of a 30-foot swell and looked up into the green walls of water. That's when they saw the sharks. Brad Kavanaugh, age 21, could clearly see 3 sharks and one was larger than the Zodiac. It was bad enough, said Brad, seeing how large the shark was, but even worse was that the shark could clearly see us. So that gives you an idea of the extreme situation they were in, and only 2 of the 5 people in that life raft made it.
Oh, really? Hypothermia? How did they pass? Did the sharks get them?
2 of them just gave up, where Brad was like, no, we're going to fight to the very last ounce of strength we have. But 2 gave up, and they started sipping seawater, and that's the worst, because seawater will dehydrate your brain, not hydrate it.
Right.
And they started hallucinating. One of them actually stood up in the life raft and suddenly goes, I'm going to go get some beer and cigarettes, and boom, steps out, and the sharks get him.
My goodness.
So I was so curious, how did Brad make it when others give up? And Brad, he phrased it in a unique way. He said, Mike, I accepted that this was my reality, and I was going to embrace it to the end and go as long as I could. He said he wasn't sure he'd make it out alive, but he was going to fight till his last breath. Whereas the other 2 men just called it, the pain, the fear was too much.
Wow, that's fascinating.
So that's what I mean about those power of little steps. Brad was constantly trying to think of ways to improve his situation, and he wasn't thinking too much farther than just get through another hour, and then we'll reassess.
Wow, I just can't. It must be some amazing stories in there. I've got the link up on the website. I'm ordering the book. I want an autographed copy. I'm going to send you my copy and send it to you. Get a nice autograph. Maybe bring you out and have you give a talk to some of the yacht clubs are very active on here in Marina del Rey and in Redondo Beach. Clear up. Even Westlake has it's a lake, beautiful area. And we have Oxnard, the yacht clubs here, very active, clear down to San Diego. A lot of regattas going on, and they love authors that come in and give talks. So I'd like to work with them.
I give slide presentations around the country, so that sounds great.
Yeah, it's something I'd like to sponsor. What was your first book?
So I started writing about the outdoors and history of New England at first, and I realized, well, I'm only getting New England readers, so I had to expand. So the first one about sea rescues and survival was called 10 Hours Until Dawn, and that took place during the Great Blizzard of 1978, just a half mile off the coast of Massachusetts. An oil tanker and a Coast Guard vessel were in jeopardy, and a private boat went to aid them. And what made me do the story was everything they said that night on the radio was captured on an audio tape. So when I listened to that years later, my hair stood on end, because in some cases it's the men's last words. But more importantly, you're seeing how they're making decisions to get through that night, because that was the worst blizzard to hit the Northeast in over 100 years.
Oh, really? Well, we're having some weather here in in Los Angeles, Southern California.
I've seen it on TV, yes.
Which is good. I welcome it. We've had a drought. We have not managed our water facilities and correctly. And we now are full. We have in the Nevada, Lake Mead has been drying up, and this has been a welcome for me. And Central Coast, of course, is the the farming. We supply the Central Coast in California, the rest of the country, not just the nation but the world, with the fruits and vegetables and walnuts. Biggest exporter of walnuts to the Middle East, believe it or not. I think I have that right.
Wow.
And I welcome the rain and the water, but a little too much for my condo and for the racing regattas that's going on here.
Well, we do need it in throughout the West, actually. So, yeah. So it's been a wonderful career. The Finest Hours became the Disney movie. Overboard, about a man who went overboard and was in the ocean for 3 days, and his captain died in his arms, but he said, I'm not going to let you go. He wanted to bring his body home, and it's just this amazing story of resilience and persistence and good decisions while he was out there.
What's King's Philip's War? Tell me about that one. I'm not familiar.
I did 2 books on that, a historical novel called Until I Have No Country, and then co-wrote a book, King Philip's War. And that's the first war in America. It occurred between the colonists in the New England colonies against the Native Americans. And listen to this, on a per capita basis, that was the bloodiest war in the country's history.
Is that right?
So few people know about it. Yeah, higher than the Civil War when you consider compare the per capita populations at the time.
Okay, I know my reading for the next. I think I'm gonna spend all summer reading your books, and I'm gonna try to get you out here to feature your books and get you back on the show again and talk more about. What's the process of writing a book like this? How long does it take you? What kind of research do you have to do?
This one was the longest ever. Normally it takes me, a year and a half to 2 years, but this one was in the works for many years, kept building up the stories. And in the back of my mind was I wanted this to be an edge-of-your-seat read with extreme survival, but also useful techniques that all of us could use when we're faced with adversity. Maybe not life and death, but we're all going to face adversity in life. And I've certainly learned from these survivors when I've gone through a rough patch. So I'll repeat some of their, phrases to myself, and I find it very helpful. And, just one little thing, all these survivors told me they gave themselves pats on the back while they were in the situation whenever they got through another hour of it or whenever they made a good decision.
Nice.
And I think that's so important for all of us to don't look for others to give us the credit. Give it to yourself. Take time to celebrate your achievements, no matter how small.
Wow, that's fascinating. You've got some fascinating books, and I'm going to start reading. I actually ordered a few on Amazon. Your link is up on the website, theboatinghour.com. I'm also going to give you a little mention about today's show on my Instagram. I'm new on Instagram and already got followers, and I'm following some exciting people and some yacht clubs. So it's been wonderful. But not enough time on the show. I got to have you back, talk about some more of your books, and I'd like to work to try to coordinate getting you out here to speak at one of the clubs and bring your books and meet some of us here on the West Coast.
That would be great. And if listeners want to see a video of a couple survivors telling their story and seeing the Coast Guard actual rescue them, it's on my website. It's Michael, and then my last name is spelled Tougias. So michaeltougias.com.
I'm definitely going to look at that. I'm very excited about the Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Auxiliary and the rescues that they do. I get emails asking me to talk about rescues and stories. You have wonderful covers. Who did the artwork on your covers?
They're all different, because they're with either Simon & Schuster or some of those big publishers. Extreme Survival, I designed that one, but the other's usually the publisher.
Well, that's all the time that we have for you today, and I hope you enjoyed our show. And as always, we're so very fortunate to have such wonderful and exciting guests up on the website, theboatinghour.com. You have today's guest, Michael Tougias. There's a link directly to his website and some wonderful books. Some amazing stories. Definitely go to that. So let's not forget the Coasties, protecting our waters and America's lifesavers and guardians of the sea. Stay tuned, because the entire month of May, we're going to be talking about the Armed Service Parade coming up in Torrance on May 20th. The following week is Memorial Day, and that's at the Battleship Iowa. Fleet Week at the Battleship Iowa, we'll be talking about the Navy. Here at the Boating Hour with Captain Rick, we cover everything that sails, motors, and floats from San Diego to Santa Barbara. Thanks for being with us today, and please be sure to join us next week and every Saturday at 4 p.m. on AM 870. And thanks to our sponsor for the show today, for a healthy gut, Livia One Probiotics. Don't forget to visit us on the web at theboatinghour.com and now on Instagram and Facebook, The Boating Hour with Captain Rick. Keep your emails coming. This is Captain Rick saying ahoy and fair winds to all.
Life is uncertain. It's okay to feel stressed, anxious, worried, or frustrated. It's normal. With CalHope's free and secure mental health resources, it's easy to get the help you and your loved ones need when you need it the most. Call our warm line at 833-317-4673 or live chat at calhope.org today.